It's estimated that more than 60% of Australian households includes a dog or a cat. And for thousands of families, the latest trend is to buy a mixed breed designer dog. But the RSPCA fears the demand for these cute bundles of fur is fueling a cruel underground puppy farm industry where dogs are used as breeding machines for profit. Dog breeding regulations vary from state to state, and breeders doing the wrong thing are difficult to monitor and even harder to prosecute. Animal activists are calling for a ban on all mass breeding operations. Tracy Bowden reports, and I should warn that viewers may find some of the images in this story distressing.
11:16 a.m. We're just entering the puppy room. The smell of ammonia is really overwhelming.
The actual rooms where the puppies were so overcrowded. There were dead puppies lying around, just on cupboards in with the mothers. The smell was just unbelievable. Heaps of faeces, heaps of, urine. Yeah, we had to take a lot of breaks.
After a career devoted to animal welfare, it's hard to shock RSPCA Inspector Lisa Lindsay. But the cruelty and appalling conditions she encountered on this puppy farm south of Sydney were difficult to stomach.
The biggest thing was just get the dogs out of there, get them somewhere safe.
The RSPCA seized 190 dogs. The owner was fined a total of $155,000 and banned from owning animals for 10 years. But scenes like this are not so unusual in a business described by the RSPCA as an underground industry, operating with few effective controls.
This has been a hidden issue. It's really time that the Australian public understood that dog breeding in Australia is not always the happy family picture that people have.
We're seeing dogs confined in dirt pens surrounded by electric fencing wire, the same way we keep cattle. We see dogs in tin sheds, in rows of stalls, the same way we see pigs in piggeries, and we see dogs in raised wire floor cages, the same way we see battery hens.
Frustrated at what she sees as an inability to expose and punish offenders, animal liberationist Deborah Tranter has taken the law into her own hands, trespassing onto puppy farms to gather evidence of mistreatment.
It's a life of confinement, and they're either pregnant or feeding puppies, and this goes on for years and years. And the damage that does to the dog's body, it's incredibly cruel, not to mention the psychological problems that does to an animal.
No one knows exactly how many puppy farms operate in Australia. The rules differ from state to state, monitored by a confusing mix of local and state and territory government. There is no association representing the puppy farm industry, but some breeders are keen to explain that the RSPCA images of cruelty are not the norm.
There are a lot of people that aren't doing the right thing, and we just want to put our side of the story out there and let people know that dog breeding can be done on a large scale and can be done properly with animal welfare, well in check.
Banksia Park Puppy Farm east of Melbourne is one of the biggest in the country. It's owned by the Hams family, which has been in the dog breeding business for 50 years.
Pugaliers, cavoodles, spoodles, schnoodles. The oodle dogs are very popular, labradoodles and groodles.
Banksia Park produces around 1,500 puppies a year.
We've got around 300 breeding females and around 30 males. The property is 200 acres, and of that, probably 25% is used on the dog farm.
And how often do these dogs have puppies?
The girls can give birth twice in any 18-month period.
The family has a clear conscience about the operation and the health and happiness of the dogs.
This area looks pretty dry and desolate. It doesn't look like a great place for dogs to be living.
It's not a picturesque place, but the dogs are happy here. They have all their needs are met here. Everything here meets the code of practice.
I started to suffer badly from panic attacks. and I worried about the little dogs the whole time and the puppies. I really didn't like doing what I was doing anymore.
Hi guys.
Meg Dobson ran a puppy farm for 10 years, but she had a change of heart and now operates a grooming business.
They become quite institutionalised, very untrusting. Probably that's the saddest part of it, is the end product of those dogs.
The mums?
Yes, the mums. We've all done it for the money, but you know, there's a thing where you've got to have some principles about it. And that's where some of those places fall down. There are absolutely no principles.
Any industry is fuelled by demand, and the demand for small, fluffy dogs is soaring. Consumers buy the puppies, often online or from a pet shop, with little knowledge of the operation which produces them.
A lot of the puppy farms will use pet shops and have consignments sent to the pet shops. The internet has made a huge difference, you know, because people see a cute picture of a puppy on the internet. Yep, okay, we'll buy that, and then the puppy can be just sent to them.
There's a lot of tricks they'll do to hide the conditions that their dogs are raised in. They'll often say for quarantine reasons they'll meet you at a shop front or somewhere, somewhere other than their farm, and that is because a lot of the time because they don't feel comfortable with the public seeing the way their dogs have been brought up and all that sort of thing.
Critics say pet shops are also part of the problem, with passing shoppers falling in love with the furry bundles and buying on impulse. But Steve Austin from the Pet Industry Association says members must abide by strict regulations.
We only buy our dogs from registered breeders that are either a purebred dog breeder or a registered business to breed dogs. I prefer them not to be in the window, certainly, but as long as they're looked after correctly, water, clean, etc., I don't see any major issues in it.
I think the entire industry is a problem. I don't think we should be factory farming companion animals. We're killing so many dogs in pounds and shelters. We certainly don't need to be breeding anymore on such a massive scale.
We hear this all the time, that pet shop puppies end up in shelters. It's not true, because all pet shop puppies are microchipped. So if the dogs were coming back, we would hear about it.
Puppies are certainly profitable. Money is a touchy subject for the breeders, but if a designer dog is worth, say, $800 and each dog has an average of 5 pups per litter, even with overheads, the numbers add up.
How lucrative was it for you?
Quite lucrative. Yep, it's lucrative for everybody involved. It's lucrative for the shires, for the breeders, for the vets, for the dog food chain, and the pet shops as the end result.
The RSPCA faces significant legal hurdles in trying to prosecute puppy farmers and close poor operations. It's calling for a series of changes, including government licensing of breeders, conditional with a code of practice, and a broader education program.
We really want the public to actually understand how bad this problem is and to be able to be much more careful about where they're getting their puppies from.
The demand will be met, so it's far better to be met in a controlled environment with people who have to answer to code of practices and laws and things like that than to go underground and be met the way it has been in the past, perhaps.
They're all as bad as each other. Any person that can confine hundreds of dogs and use them as a breeding machine, to me that is just abhorrent, and I just want to see it abolished.
As the designer puppy business thrives, it's estimated that every week in Australia, hundreds of dogs are euthanased because homes can't be found for them. Sadly, euthanasia was the only option for some of the dogs RSPCA inspectors seized in the raid south of Sydney.
Sometimes I still shake my head and close my eyes and go home and give my dog a hug, because sometimes the only best outcome for an animal that I come across is to be put to sleep. They're the hard days.